How's it going, Thieves fans? We got a new episode of the Thieves Talk podcast right now. We're just going to be talking about the LA Thieves and Vegas matchup. This weekend was a really good match for the Thieves. They had two maps where it was kind of eh. They definitely should have won the series sooner than they did, but we can't complain about a win from the Thieves. So I'm not going to dive too deep into any of that because winning and learning about what you could have done better is better than losing and saying, "Oh, hey, maybe we should have done this, this, and this." Because right now the Thieves are 1-0 to start this split. So even though there were things that they could have done better, it's good that they still were able to close out the win, and it showed that they were kind of able to ice up a little bit. That is something that the Thieves have not really been able to do. This is our first time seeing the Thieves as this new roster layout. So, really good to see the Thieves perform well this weekend, especially against the Legion. The Legion really haven't been that bad of a team. They've actually done pretty well. They did just make a roster change, I believe. They got rid of Purge and they are picking up Asim from what I've heard, which should be a good pickup. Asim is that guy. I don't know why Boston dropped him in the first place. But anyway, Thieves looked really well against the Vegas Legion. Like I said, probably could have closed it out a little sooner, but it is what it is. Um, but anyway, let's get into the matchup here. All right, so we're looking at the overview here. Both Kremp and Nasty went negative, but I don't feel like that really shows kind of how the Thieves actually did. Joe Deceives was insane. Match MVP here, as you could see. I mean, dude was. You wouldn't. I don't think you would have realized that Joe Deceives was just in challengers with how good he played. I mean, he looked completely different. I think he even said in the interview post match that dropping down and playing at the challengers level brought up his confidence a lot, and I think that's really good for the Thieves in general. But we'd love to see it for Joe Deceives. I mean, he's a young talent. He's really good, and with how Ghosty has been, he's been really consistent. Kremp and Nasty have still kind of been hit or miss a little bit. And then obviously with Afro, he was very up and down. So having Joe Deceives, if he comes in and he plays really consistent and he plays like he did the other day, I think we're gonna be in for a treat because Joe Deceives and Kremp played really well off of each other, and the search. I feel like the search play that the Thieves have had with Joe Deceives and then Kremp and Nasty was really good. I mean, they won 6-3 and 6-2, as you can see. So I mean, if we can be playing good searches, that's a huge start. Our hard point was already starting to look a little better. So now the biggest thing is going to be, can we get our control back to kind of how it was to start the season? Because the last few times we played control hasn't been great. I think that's the area of interest for the Thieves as of right now. But as you can see, Attach actually had a rough series. Normally, Attach is the guy that has been doing everything, and I think he just started off a little slow against the Thieves. And everybody besides Nero went negative. I mean, plus 20. Golly, Nero, he does some different stuff sometimes. But map one, as you can see here, we had a 6-star. First time Thieves playing 6-star, and I really liked it. Obviously, we won 250 to 49, but even just from a viewer standpoint, watching 6-star versus an invasion hardpoint, man, it's a sight for sore eyes. I'll tell you that. It was nice to get a bit of a mix in the map pool here, and as you can see, we ended up playing Vista hardpoint as well, and then a 6-star search. So we kind of got a whole mix of things. We obviously still played the invasion control, which, maybe not ideal, but invasion's in the rotation, so it's going to be played. But the 6-star hardpoint number one, Thieves take it 250 to 49. I mean, dude, we freaking blew them out of the water. They got 50-point club, dude. That is I believe they said on stream, that is the biggest win differential in hardpoint on the year. And that came from the Thieves, not FaZe, not Ultra, not Optic, from the Thieves, dude. I mean, look at this. Ghosty's the only guy to go negative, and like it's he didn't have that many engagements. Like, it didn't seem like he had like crazy engagements. But goodness gracious, Joe Deceives. He started off, I think, 0-3, and then all of a sudden it was like he just started shooting laser beams, man. Um, Really wild to see. I mean, Nasty had a great map, plus 11 as well. Kremp did his thing. I mean, everybody was doing what they needed to do, and Joe Deceives was slaying out, and Nasty went on a streak to start the map. So both those guys started off real hot and kind of just kept it steady. And then Kremp started to pick it up, Ghosty started to pick it up, but they started off a little slower. Kremp ended up getting a streak, and this is the crazy thing. I didn't know this was a thing on Six Star until we saw it on the stream. But Kremp goes on a spree. He gets a streak. He goes to call it in, and it runs into like this tower that's on the map for some reason, and just completely blows it up. I've never seen that before. I haven't played much Six Star personally, so that could be why. But he just completely lost out on his streak all because of this random building in the middle of the map, I guess. So that kind of sucked, but it really didn't check out the Thieves at all because they were still shooting nukes. I mean, it didn't matter if they had a streak or not. They were just absolutely frying the Vegas Legion, and I would love to see the Thieves playing like that in more hardpoint maps. And I think if they can play like this consistently on Six Star will be a fun map to watch the Thieves play. I mean, they just looked really really good on it. Map 2, we have the Rio Search and Destroy. As I said before, Thieves were able to take this one 6-3. They probably could have closed it out a little sooner. There were a couple small things in different rounds that happened, that probably could have been prevented. There was one round where the Thieves were up, I want to say 4-2 at that point, or 5-2. And we had a 4v4 post plant, I believe. And for some reason, Ghosty stopped watching the flank. I don't know, you know, if he saw somebody on Eskies across from him or what it was, but he stopped looking at the flank. And right as he stopped looking at the flank, that's when Purge came up, got an easy two piece, and kind of blew things apart. Probably around that, looking back, they're going to talk about and say, hey, we got to make sure we're locked in on this. Just probably some miscommunication that happened there. But I mean, a 6-3 win obviously is nothing to complain about by any means. Kremp and Nasty only two negative here. Nasty was 4-8. I mean, it's Rio for the most part, especially. I mean, Joe Deceives was 12-5. Like, there's really not much to go around for Nasty at that point. Like, Joe Deceives was just killing everybody on the map. So, I mean, he still put in really good damage though. So that's the thing with Nasty I've noticed is a lot of times if his stats are considered to be, not as good, or if he has a negative KD, a lot of times his damage is still really high. I mean, Ghosty had a positive KD and he has more damage than Ghosty did. So that's something to keep in mind with Nasty. I think if the Thieves are still losing, a lot of people are probably going to point that out just because it's the stat that jumps out. But you got to look and take into consideration the damage because he only did 100 damage less than Joe Deceives, and Joe Deceives had 12 kills with a 2.4 KD. So really, really can't, overanalyze that. Kremp 6-7, only -1. Again, nothing to complain about there. And Ghosty 140 plus 2 KD. Like I said, Joe Deceives went off. And Geo was the only one positive on their side of things, but everybody had a reasonable map despite, getting beat up on. I mean, Purge and Nero probably could have done a little better, but I mean, if one of these guys does a little better, probably the map probably looks a little better from their side of things. In the invasion control, this is where things kind of turned around a little bit, unfortunately. The Thieves didn't even really look bad necessarily. It's just I feel like invasion control is so defensive sided that it really just comes down to either who plays defense better or who plays offense better, depending on how you want to look at it. There was really no space for much to happen, and the Thieves were kind of able to make some moves here and there that really shocked me. They had one point, I don't remember which round it was. I think it was their second to last round, maybe. Yeah, second to last round. Um, they were no, it had to have been a different round. I don't remember the exact round. Um, but they basically got wiped, and there was less than 30 seconds left on the timer for the game clock, and they hadn't taken B yet. They had 2 ticks down already, and they got the close spawn on B and just came out and wiped Legion basically off the B side, and then went and triple stacked and were able to cap it really quick, got themselves some extra time. Still weren't able to win the round, but they were able to do that in such a short amount of time and put that together really quickly. I just feel like overall they played really good team. They played a good team game. Now, obviously, like I said, we weren't able to close out the invasion, but this is something that I think the Thieves are probably working on since their control has been very up and down. So they're probably trying to get back into that. And obviously, you have this new roster here. Joe Deceives is fitting in, which actually he fit in really well, coming in 31 and 30, and Ghosty was 35 and 30. So it could just be that team cohesion that they're trying to get figured out on the control side of things. But it was one of those, like I said, it's very defense heavy. You know, there's a chance that maybe they play a different map and things go a little differently. But invasion, you know, that's the map we had to watch. So moving on to Vista Hardpoint again, just like 6 star, this was our first time seeing the Thieves play Vista Hardpoint, and this was a freaking bang out, dude. Like this one was back and forth the entire time. The pace was insane. Like it was so back and forth the entire time, and it's not necessarily like it's a really small map. It's obviously not like an invasion, right? It's definitely smaller than invasion, but I don't feel like it's like I didn't expect the pace of play to be that fast, I should say. And the Thieves started off really slow. Um, Vegas kind of started off really hot. They were able to take the lead really quickly, and they were chaining a couple hills together. The Thieves weren't really able to break into any of those, but then it hit a little past the, I want to say like 120, 130 mark, and that's when the Thieves kind of started to hit their stride. They were able to bring things back, and then from that point on, it was basically like just kind of flip flopping back and forth. There were several lead changes, and it came down to a really, really gritty P2 hill, I believe. The P1 hill is obviously super mixy, and the Thieves were able to kind of battle on that one. And they go to P2, and this is where it really sucked because they definitely could have closed out the series, and they should have closed out the series on this map. Um, but just little small things were kind of what killed them. And going to P2, they had the rotation, they had the positioning, and Nasty probably should have just played his life a little better than he did. He got a little aggressive, and I think I can kind of understand why he wants to get aggressive because I mean, if you get the first kill there and you're able to dip back out and stay alive, obviously that's an extra body that is now farther away to try and get onto the point, and you only needed 3 seconds. The downside of that is he had somebody looking over him and could have just stayed alive, played his life, let whoever else was around him cause problems. So that way, the Thieves who were coming off a spawn had more time to get there and funnel in. And then, if it gets to that point where he needs to challenge out, he can. So, one of those things where probably should have played his life. I see the vision, but I'm also not a professional player, so that might be a stupid vision. But I see the vision. I saw what he was trying to do. It just probably wasn't the best play for that situation. And unfortunately, we lose that map. Joe Deceives also, not to like make excuses, but he had something happen to his controller at one point where he just like he wasn't able to control his player. It got fixed. I don't know what happened. I think they might have said he like somehow hit his keyboard or something and it alt tabbed or whatever it was. Um, but he was able to get back in the game and close it out. But if he stays alive there's a chance we might get some extra time that we did not get because of that. So that was kind of unfortunate as well. But either way, we move on to the 6-star search and destroy, where we were able to close out the series with a 6-2 victory over the Vegas Legion. Geo had a bit of a stinker, 3-6, and Purge had a bit of a stinker, 3-7. The Thieves look good. I mean, their search and destroy look good. Even Chance said it on the broadcast. The Thieves search and destroy looks good right now. Crimp, the only one negative on this map with -3, and he still made some plays. I feel like again the team is playing as a really good unit. I mean, look at Joe had 500 damage. At this point, he's just picking up trades. And, if you're playing as a team, that works. You need that. That's what you need. So I'm sure looking at the stats for the Thieves here, they are not upset by any means. Everybody had a pretty solid, balanced game. Obviously, Nasty went crazy, 9-4. Pretty impressive. Both him and Ghosty had a 2.0 plus KD. So, like I said, the search and destroy, is looking good. Obviously, Vegas Legion is not necessarily a top tier team, so it'll be a little different when the Thieves face somebody that might be a little higher of a team. But the upside, in a sense, is that if we look at the schedule here, the Thieves don't really have a lot of top tier teams that they're facing this major. We got the Miami Heretics up next. They haven't been looking great. We got the Carolina Ravens after that. They haven't been looking great. They have their moments. But they haven't been looking great. Minnesota Rocker, again, another team that's kind of had its ups and downs. Then we go Boston Breach, which, same deal. They've been very up and down. Thieves and Seattle Surge. Seattle Surge, they looked a little better, but they still don't have a lot figured out. Looked a little better, but still don't have a lot figured out. And then last up will be Optic Texas. That's our last matchup before we go into the actual tournament. So we really don't face that many top teams. Optic is the only one in this major, and hopefully that'll allow the Thieves to kind of spark some momentum as we go through a lot of these series to really see where our potential is at up against a team like Optic. Because Optic, despite them not being able to beat FaZe, they're a very good team. We've talked about it before. The top 4 teams are seems like in a different plane. Like, Optic is going to beat almost any other team in the league. They just really are struggling with FaZe. And right now, FaZe is looking really good. So I'm definitely glad we don't have to play FaZe this split. But Optic should be a good test depending on how Optic continues to go throughout these qualifiers as well. And we will see kind of how we face off against some of these other teams that haven't been looking too great. Because anytime we can take advantage of that is huge. I can look at the standings here to see where we're at overall. So right now we don't make the playoff cut. But if we're able to beat Miami, Minnesota, we already beat Vegas, in Seattle and Carolina. These are besides LAG, these are all the teams that we're facing right here. So if we can beat each one of these guys, that's extra points for us to move up in the standings. And it's a tight race, really. Thieves are at 70. The biggest thing is if we can get winners bracket, because what, each win is 10 points. So any win that we get will move up a little bit. Anytime Seattle loses, Ravens lose, Heretics lose, any of these teams right here lose, that's obviously great for us. But then if we can go out and we have a good showing at a tournament, that should bump us up a lot just based off of how tight this race is right here. Um, so that's the biggest thing, because I mean a 90-point difference from Vegas to New York. So we'll see how all that stuff goes. But um, I'm very excited for how this team showed. They look like they could be a dangerous team coming into these next few matches that they have. That's pretty much it when it comes to the match this weekend. The Thieves only had one. Next week, I believe they only have one as well. I think for the next like 3 weeks, they only have one match over the weekend, and then the weekend that they face Boston, they have two matches, I believe. So we won't be getting like a ton of Thieves Call of Duty, but at least we got matches again, which I'm very happy about because I was definitely missing the matches. That's for sure. Um, I feel like I don't know what to do when the Thieves aren't playing matches. I don't know. I don't know what to talk about. There's nothing going on in the league. Like, I don't know. Maybe I just need to watch more Flank or um, the Breakdown and some of the other podcasts and just kind of see what they're talking about. But I mean, when I'm really focused on the Thieves and what the Thieves are doing, there's really not too much to cover when they're not in matches, I guess. But either way, great weekend. Very, very happy. If you guys have not seen, I did an interview with the man himself, Dan Ghosty. That was a super fun experience for me, and I'm really grateful that he was able to do that with me. I really did not expect to have the opportunity to do something like that. So it really meant a lot that he was willing to take the time out of his schedule to, sit with me and talk about just, different stuff throughout his career, and maybe some fun questions that I had for him that I thought would be interesting to hear from his perspective. Um, as I said before, I'm hoping to do more stuff like that in the future. Um, and, maybe at some point we can get, whether it be Ghosty or another player, even on one of the lives and have kind of like a live thing and let everybody get to ask some questions. That's something I would love to do as well. Obviously, we're still kind of new to a lot of this stuff. I'm still kind of breaking out of my shell a little bit personally when it comes to the content side of things. So it'll be slow steps, but I do want to do some more YouTube videos as well. And I think anytime I'm able to do an interview like I did with Ghosty, or whether it be a coach or another player or whatever, um, I'm probably going to start off by keeping those as just YouTube videos, and maybe as time goes on, like I said, we can do something as a live with some of the players. Um, but we will see how all that stuff goes. A bit of a quicker episode here today. Really not too much to talk about. Like I said, just one series this weekend, and the Thieves look good. So there really wasn't too much to break down. I know it's a little earlier in the day, so probably not as many people are able to watch live, but today's my day off from work, so I wanted to come on and get this out of the way so that way I can get this uploaded onto YouTube for anybody that might have missed it. But yeah, that's going to do it for me today. I'm excited for this matchup against the Miami Heretics coming this weekend, and we will have another episode of the podcast out after that series. I will try to do it after Sunday because I know the breakdown is right after matches, and I'm not sure if the flank does theirs right after, but try to get it done earlier in the week. So be on the lookout for us going live here, whether it be Monday or Tuesday, kind of just depends on my work schedule. But I will tweet it out. So be sure you're following the Thieves Talk Twitter, and I'll be tweeting live for the match as long as I'm able to watch live. So keep an eye on all that stuff, and go check out the Ghosty interview if you have not seen that as well. That's going to do it for me today. I hope you all have a good rest of your day, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Peace.